we're rare. Like, there's not very many people like us.
So radical, you know, it's just so different from the beginning and origins of relationships. But
I never want to get married.
I wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't, you know, on the lookout for having a girlfriend. Or
Like, that's what I said, and he's like, okay. You know, I always felt different from most girls in general.
The first time I like saw her fully and like saw her face was in the housekeeping office.
Just the way I was wired is just totally different. Like, housekeeping and everything, it was just like, I enjoyed it more and more, like my friendship with him, and we would just like talk about random stuff because we just had all this like stuff in common again.
You know, it's random points to connect, and like you'd think when people do that, they're like, oh, they like each other, they want to pursue each other. It's like, it wasn't like that. And it's showing me that, you know, missions is definitely what he has for me in the future, but more specifically, being single, and nothing crazy or weird about that. But it's just like,
what is God doing? Like, you know, all throughout this, like, Andrew's being used a lot, like, to like draw us to each other and to like bring up all these things in my heart.
Andrew came and talked to me and told me he had talked to me about just this passionate thought he had, or revelation, and I was like, okay.
I do remember that Kyle was like, you know, every moment that I spent with you has been a joy, and I was like, yeah, that has been with you too.
And it had to do with him viewing Grace and I together. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
He gets all like, it takes him like 30 seconds to spit it out, and he's just like, you're extremely beautiful. It
started scaring me because I was beginning to extremely like Grace's company.
I like curl up in my bed and I'm like praying, and I'm like, God, this is ridiculous. Like, why? It was like somebody tied like bowling balls and like bricks to like my heart and just like was weighing it down.
I was just sort of waiting on the brink of somebody snapping or somebody happening.
To a wedding of Kyle's best friend Robbie and Taylor, and she like walks down the aisle, and it's like this, you know, beautiful song, and I'm just like, oh, it's so romantic, blah blah blah, because that romance is like gross. And then all of a sudden, like, Kyle's up there, and I look because I'm looking at Taylor because she's like on, you know, standing like, you know, like waiting for the song to finish, and it's like this romantic moment between her and Robbie, and then I like look over and Kyle's like right to the right, and like it was just like this like spear kind of like went through my heart, and I was like, and it was just like this like overwhelming, like in like a couple seconds it was like this overwhelming like, I think I love Kyle, and like it scared me to death because I'm like, no. And so I just kind of swallow all of it down, and we go back, and a couple days later we start our second term of second year. And so at this point, you know, I've been friends with Kyle for a year and a half, and I'm like, why does this all of a sudden come?
What we were doing, like where God was taking us. And this is so cool because I'd never shared with anybody that type of passion, because, you know, people don't really understand why you want to leave your home and go to a third world country and love people for the sake of the gospel, for God, you know, saving people. It's just not generally seen.
It was like, God was like, you need to do something. Like, you need to stop praying about this like a wussy. Like, you need to go do something. And I realized I need to tell Kyle what's going on in my heart in order for in order for any healing to take place, in order for me to like take a step forward. And so I skipped the second class that morning because I can't go back, and I just start writing Kyle this letter. And when I start writing the letter, I text him and I'm like, I have something for you. Don't let me not give it to you because I might be too scared to. He's like, okay. So I end up writing this 12-page letter, and it's like just basically telling Kyle like how much I love him, and the whole story of like basically all the like how much I lied to him, first of all, and like also just like how pathetic and selfish I had been throughout the process, and like how God had worked in my heart, and I was just fearful of like these feelings.
No, I wasn't shocked. I was actually really excited to read it. And I read through it, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense at all. And so I read it again, and I was like there it is. Like, love was there, and that's what existed. We were sort of against it prematurely, but one of us humbling ourselves before God, just like, there's so much love between us, and like, it's not being stopped. It is so genuine, so pure.